Nice to meet you. I'm Jonas.
Honored to meet you.
Thanks for dropping by at my place. This is my praxis, and cool that you found time.
I'm at the right place. I can immediately get a treatment.
Just jump on the table and we start doing while I'm giving you a massage. Why not?
We don't have enough time to treat all my injuries.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to Cross Paths, the podcast of the UTMB World Series. Every month, 2 runners, 1 elite and 1 amateur come together to discuss trail running and much more. They share their passions, inspirations, and get to know each other better. Today, elite Swiss runner Jonas Russi, winner of the Tour des Géants 2022 and the Lavaredo Ultra-Trail by UTMB 2023, chats with Roy van Saan, a passionate Dutch runner based in Zurich. Together, they talk about the place running has in their lives, injuries, and what it's taught them, as well as their passions, including rock and roll. We hope you'll enjoy this moment where their paths crossed.
Jonas, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to meet you and allow me to introduce you with a few words. You're 39 years old and grew up in an athletic family. You were keen runners, especially marathon, and yourself started running at the age of 7 and even ran your first marathon at the age of 13 in Davos. You put running aside at the age of 18 to focus on skiing, and you became Swiss junior champion and joined the Swiss junior national team before putting an end to skiing at the age of 21. At the age of 26, having found some free time after a hard breakup, you took up running again. And your first 80-kilometer run left you with bitter memories, but you didn't give up and made steady progress over the years until you won the Swiss Peaks in 2020. And since then, you had a string of great results, including a second place in the Tour des Géants and clinching victory the year after, and as well triumphing in the Lavaredo Trail by UTMB in 2023. Unfortunately, you've suffered quite a bit some injuries, and so that even that you had to abandon the UTMB Mont Blanc last year after 60 kilometers. On a more personal note, you're a proud father of a 14-month-old boy and got married last autumn, so congratulations on both. And you work as a medical masseur in Andermatt and Zug in Switzerland. Does this summary seem right to you, or do you want to add anything at this stage?
No, this is more or less correct. We are not really from an athletic background, my family, but they were always keen runners, but not really good in the technique itself, but they were very strong in their minds, and I think that's something that describes better than good athletic runners. And no, the rest was pretty bright. And I think that is a good description of my life so far.
And I see you brought an object that's particularly close to your heart. I see a dummy lying in front of you. I'm not sure if it's yours, but tell me about it.
Yeah, it's just a symbol. Actually, it's a dummy from our 14-month-old son. He is taking a very central part in our life, I would say. So he makes us crying and he makes us smiling at the same time. And that's very, very special for me. Not the dummy itself, but our boy. We are very happy with that. How about you? Do you have kids?
Yeah, we have 2 kids, 2 little girls.
Yeah.
4 and 7-year-olds.
Okay.
So it's fantastic as well. So still young. So
yeah. Cool. Okay, Roy, now it's my turn to introduce you. You were born in Zwalmen. Sorry about the pronunciation, probably it's wrong. In the Netherlands, of course. You're 48 years old. You started running at the age of 16 on the track, mainly in the disciplines 1,500, 3,000 and 5,000 meters formats, until you reached a very good level. You were in the Dutch top 10 at the age of 32, but you had a few injuries, fortunately not serious. Today you train almost daily, skiing, cycling and running. You recently took part in the Mont Blanc Marathon, the Maxi Race and the Wildstrubel by UTMB. and you dream of taking part in the UTMB Mont Blanc in 2025. You're married to a French woman from Haute-Savoie. Her work brought her to Zurich, where you and your kids are living since 12 years. You work as a chief financial officer, and I think that's a little bit how I would describe you. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Indeed, on the injury part, I think we both had our injuries, and I never had like big injuries, but the story of my life is that I'm always injured. So maybe I learn with age and I get less injured now as I take more care of my body. Yeah, but that is always a bit of a break on the progress. But let's say last year it's going well, so let's try and stay fit, both of us.
Yeah, same here. It's sometimes hard to learn. Sometimes one is too stubborn to do it. And I see you also brought something with you, an object. I would describe it as a metal box. It says Emma on top of it, and I don't know, is it empty or not? Can we open it? Yeah. So it's empty. I don't know what's the story behind it, and can you give us an idea what it means to you?
Yeah, I was thinking what to bring as a personal object and not having it sports related. And then I actually thought about this box, and let's say for me it represents gratitude. The box itself is actually from my granddad, whom I never knew because he passed away before I was born, but he actually worked in the mines in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and this was his tobacco box.
Okay.
So it says on top Emma because it was called the Emma Mines. And I think that was a very hard life. And then I think about when I'm on the bike and when I'm running and when I'm in the mountain and skiing, I always feel grateful. And I also realize how privileged we are. And that's something that I also want to pass on to my girls because they grow up, let's say, in a rich life, whereas it's not tough on them. So I want to make sure that they realize their privilege and that they live in a great environment. So that's why when I see this box, I think of where my granddad was and how privileged we are here and how grateful I am doing the sport that we're doing.
Cool. Sounds great.
Jonas, you started running at a very young age. What influence did your family have in your sporting activities and running in particular? Were they the ones that introduced you, or why did you pick up running?
Yeah, we were always very active. We were lots of the time in the mountains. We also had some goats that we had to visit from time to time and bring them some food up the mountain. So I was always joining my dad to do that. So that was a little bit the story of just moving around and being outside and enjoying nature. I think I liked it a lot and I still do. And the running part is coming a little bit, as I said, from my dad and his brothers. They also took parts in 2 marathons or ultra marathons during the year. And I always liked it, and I always liked to join them and to support them. And as a kid in Switzerland, you also take part in the village runs, which are 300-400 meters long. And with 13, I was allowed to do a longer run. My brother, my cousin, and me, we took part in a 42-kilometer run in the Swiss Alps in Davos, and done that 5 times in a row before I finally focused entirely on skiing.
Okay, so all the running that you did from the beginning, it was never flat, right? It was always in the mountains.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how many flat parts you find in my hometown there. Yeah, it turns out that this part is probably not my strongest one, the flat part running. So I guess a little bit the opposite from the Netherlands.
That definitely so.
How about you? How do you find the way to sport?
I think it's a lot of Dutch kids. You grow up either playing soccer or tennis. Those are the main sports in the Netherlands. So I grew up, let's say, playing soccer. But then at the age of 10, there was a father of a good friend of mine who went to a small road race. And so I joined it and I ran my first 5K on the road when I was 10. And ever since, I sort of kept running one or two of these small local races per year. So it was, let's say the seed was planted and I kept running a little bit and did a little bit of triathlon, where soccer was my main sport. But then at the age of 16, I was very competitive and I thought, let's see what's in it with running, if I really focus on running and where it can take me. So I joined a track club and that's where I really started running, and that's where running became the framework of my life, because I've been running ever since. And it's played a big role in my life then and even now. So I really got addicted to running. I have a passion for sports, but especially for running and cycling. And now I really enjoy trail running.
Did you had idols at that time, or?
Well, the people that were good at the time, but I really liked and still like Steve Prefontaine, let's say the first Nike athlete. And it's really for his, he runs with his whole heart and he runs from the front and he runs passionately. And I really like that. And it's how I run a little bit myself as well. Maybe I would have had some better results if I would have run more conservatively, but I like to go for the best that you think you can give that day. And then, well, sometimes you burn. You have to be a little bit careful in trail runs because they are long. So you have to hold back a little bit at the start. But yeah, that's what I really like about Steve Prefontaine, the spirit of chasing results and getting better. So, and good. So you started running and actually did some marathons, but then you took up skiing, even representing your country. How did that come about, that you switched from running to skiing?
Well, first in Andermatt, where I grew up, that's actually the main sport, I would say, especially in winter. Well, you can also do cross-country skiing. My name is Russi, Jonas, and I have, well, not really close related to me, but there is Bernard Russi. He's a former Olympic champion, and that describes a little bit the whole story in Andermatt, that you, when you grow up, either learn skiing, cross-country skiing, or you do snowboard. And I was, from the beginning on, I was hooked up, and that was my main goal, to be Olympic champion or world champion. The summer part was then always filled up with athletic training, also for skiers. So winners are made in summer, we've always said. And it turned out that I always had a little bit of talent, well, at least among the skiers, that I have a good talent for endurance. And then there was the family part, and that's why I've always liked the running as well. With 18, I had an accident. I broke my shin while skiing. It took me a long time to recover from that, around 1.5 years. And after that, I was not able to be fast in giant slalom and slalom. So I focused on speed disciplines only. But at the end, I did not have enough speed. So yeah, if you are not successful, and it's also financially a very big thing to keep this ongoing. And at 21, I decided that's it. And I quit skiing, and later on, I started running again.
And the skiing itself, did that help your trail running, you think? Because we saw at the beginning that your upper legs are sort of twice the size of mine.
I don't know. They're probably also twice as heavy as yours. So to be honest, it's not just an advantage. Yeah, it's something that still is from that time of my life, I think. I've tried several times to lose a little bit of muscles, to be honest, so I can lose some weight. But at the end, it never worked. And, my body is how it is. And I have to run with it. And I will. And I do.
Good. Jonas, you had a string of good results in the last few years. And here is actually an audio extract that should bring back a few memories.
Molto difficile. Però il risultato è arrivato. Hai dormito in questi 3 giorni?
Sì.
Quanto?
17 minuti.
17 minuti in 3 giorni. Quindi sei il sesto straniero a vincere il Tour de Géants, hai fatto il sesto tempo di tutti i tempi del Tour de Géants.
Jonas, I didn't understand everything, given it was quite in Italian, I believe. but tell me about it.
Well, same here. I didn't understand it either. Here you probably see that I struggle a little bit with the answers. So my Italian is not really good. I do understand a little bit, but they really like it if I try to speak in Italian. So yeah, it was after Tour de Géants 2022. I reached the finish line, and afterwards there was an interview with Rai, and he asked me, how much did you sleep during the whole race? So over this around 70 hours. And I was quite exhausted at that moment. And as I said, my Italian is not the best. So I had to think about it first in my head before it came over my lips. And it was 17 minutes. So 1-7. And I think that is quite a special thing for Tour de Géants. If you want to compete in the top 10, you're barely allowed to sleep. And that shows a little bit this interview and makes the run itself special. So it's different disciplines to 1,500 meters on the track.
Definitely so. And you already mentioned the difference for such a long race. And what attracts you in such a long race? That's not even 100 miles, but it's really double that.
Yeah, I think my first longer race or very long race was 200 kilometers. So it's a little bit more than 100 miles, 115 or so, something. That was more a challenge for me. Am I able to finish this race? And as longer the distance, better the results for me, I would say. And also it comes quite natural to me. So if I do a race like this, then I don't have to start very fast. Like, for example, 100 kilometers or UTMB or something, where they have a very fast start nowadays. And with Tour de Géants, yeah, you can start a little bit slower and take your time and then get into the race.
Yeah. So when you think about, let's say, a 100-mile versus a 200-mile race, so 180 versus 300 plus kilometers, what is the main difference for a runner, the main challenge? Is it the sleeping part, or are there other parts that's...
The sleeping part is very crucial. It's very important, I would say, because, one night is no problem, I would say, for most of the athletes. But as longer the race goes, you're more tired and you have a harder time to stay awake. And another thing which is different is the food, I think. You go for a little bit more solid food, and then the pace. So you don't run such a high pace. For some runners, sometimes they do jokes about it because, they are walking up the mountain and they are so slow. But if you have a race like 330 kilometers with around, I think, 24,000 elevation gain up and down, then at some part everyone starts to walk, and it's just another way of challenging the body.
How do you prepare differently for a 100 and a 200 miler? Do you do just a lot more volume, or because in the end you cannot do training sessions of 20 hours?
I think it's not very different. A lot comes with experience. So maybe you know it yourself. So usually you don't start with 200 kilometers. You start probably with 20, 40, 60, 80, and you slowly increase. And with all the help and the experience of those races, you can manage then the longer ones. And with knowing that, I always thought this is possible, and that's what I've done. How about you? What was your longest race?
My longest so far is the Maxi race in Annecy. So it's close to 90 kilometers. So I'm still a novice to trail running. So I just have, a handful of trails under my belt, 40 kilometers and 80 kilometers did the Maxi race twice and also ran Wildstrubel 70K last year. And then this year I want to try Wildstrubel 120. So it will be my first 100 plus race. And it will also be a race that's run through the night. So it starts at 10:30 in the evening. So that's another aspect adding to the challenge. And I thought both of that would be a great experience, but also, let's say, preparation for the year after, where I want to run my first 100-miler, hopefully UTMB. But I thought running a 120 race through the night this year, in addition to some of the other races I want to do this year, I think that's maybe a good prep for next year. And also finding out how do I do on these longer distances. When it comes to pacing, how does that work for you in an ultra trail? As a runner, track and field, I'm very used to know exactly what pace you have to run and train at. Of course, all that theory can go out of the window in the mountain because the terrain is so different. So how do you pace yourself? Is it you want to race competitively, or you say, I run my own race and then I'll see in the second half of the race where I am? Or do you look at your heart rate? Or
I take care, especially in the beginning of the race, and I do that with heart rate.
Yeah,
I'm not very analytic in my training, so I cannot tell you how many hours I train during the week. You have to ask my coach. But heart rate is like the measurement I take, and I don't do the rest of the things. With heart rate, I feel comfortable, and then it's a lot of gut feeling.
Yeah. So on the way down, because heart rate recovers anyway, it's like, so on the way down, it's more like gut feeling, not to trash your legs. Or
yeah, basically, I think you just need to start in a very comfortable way. And you can be sure that at some point of the race you will be tired. So there's no way you don't have enough time to get tired during the race. So be patient, and that's probably the biggest thing to hold yourself back. Roy, what discipline do you impose on yourself in your daily life to satisfy your passion for racing? How important is it in your daily routine?
my wife would say very important. Because if I don't get to do sports, I get grumpy, she says. So I think she's right. I think the first discipline nowadays with family and with work is actually to find the time for your training. Like 20 years ago, you would have your fixed times where you would train, and that's what you would do. And now training is not an afterthought, but every day you have to think like, okay, where can I find my moment to train? Can it be like a short something during lunch, or do you have to get up early in the morning or do it late in the evening? So that's the first discipline. To do sport itself and the training, it's pure fun. So that doesn't require the discipline. But then in addition to that, I think as well, we have busy lives. So I would think getting enough sleep, I think that's so important. And that's where I have to put really discipline in making sure I go to bed early enough. Maybe switching gears, we are unfortunately very experienced in injuries as well. You dropped out last year from UTMB. I see you listed as well this year to enter UTMB. But with injuries, how do you deal with them? And especially if you're forced to retire from a race, do you recover from that quickly, or is it on your mind a lot, or do you just flip the switch and move on to the next target?
Well, I struggle a lot with injuries in my mental part, because I'm a therapist, medical master. I think I'm not allowed to have injuries. I should know when to stop, but it's sometimes I'm just too stubborn to stop and just go as planned. And I think it always has a reason why an injury comes to you. Most of the time you've done some mistakes before. And I hope I can learn from last year. And especially last year, this whole process actually started like almost 2 years ago, where I twisted an ankle. But even this happening was not the start, because it started probably when I've broke my shin and I've never done a good rehab. And so I've worked a lot during the last 3-4 months to reshape my body and strengthen my body, my hips, and I hope that this will not happen again. How about you? Which experience is yours with injuries?
I never had big injuries, but I was always injured and always small things. But so always injuries that prevented me from running 2-3 weeks. And especially at the time I was running at the track, it basically did not allow you to progress, because if you take out 3 weeks of training every time, you just don't progress. And now I must say the last 1-2 years, and I'm getting a lot better at it, where I switch between cycling and running. So I run one day, I bike one day. So that's a very good balance. And the second one is that I cut out a lot of speed work. So I was used to running a lot at high intensity, but becoming a trail runner, I don't need the intensity, so I focus more on endurance and strength. And the third thing is that I really focus more on injury prevention. So it's definitely not my favorite part. I focus more on stretching and doing some core exercises, and so knock on wood. But so far it's working out. So yeah, let's see what the future brings.
Cool. Sounds great. And it's good to have a payback from work we probably don't like so much. Okay, Roy, let's now switch topics a little bit. I'd like to talk about more personal subjects. So here's a sound clip of you and what makes this moment special to you.
Allez, papa! Allez! Allez, Roy! Vas-y, Louis, vas-y avec papa. Finis avec papa, vas-y! Allez! Il faut courir, Adèle. Allez!
So can you tell me something about that? I've heard some French and I do understand it. It's, at some moment of the race, if they say vas-y, vas-y, when you're already tired. But yeah.
This was special for a few reasons. And it was actually the finish of the Maxi race in Annecy last year. Mm-hmm. And it was my wife and the kids waiting at the finish line. So the last 100 meters, they joined me in finishing the race. It's important because I really want to pass on the passion for sports to my girls. So we want to expose them to different sports and see what they like. And then from a more sports perspective, it was important because I had the feeling it was the first time I started to run a good race. I ran a good race for 40 kilometers and I really, really suffered for 45 kilometers. So I'm not there yet. But beginning with trail running, you don't have a ranking. So you really had to start at the back. So my first few trails, I really had to walk the first 2 hours because I was sort of stuck in the pack. Mm-hmm. And now because I got a little bit better ranking, I really could run the first half of the race. Mm-hmm. But because I hadn't trained enough, I probably ran too fast the first half. So making it a very difficult race. But having the feeling that I started to understand the puzzle of trail running and how to run a good race, I thought, that may be a good moment to share.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's always nice, especially with your family on the side. Talking about your personal life, what else than sport is on?
With work, family, and sports.
Yeah, of course. Sorry.
Time is running out, but I really like to read. So whenever I have time, I read. I like the time to really sit down and take my time for that. So I like literature, but it's now becoming more like shorter stories. But whenever I can get my hand on something to read, I'll read. And then obviously, I like listening to music as well. Even went to, also not so much anymore, but went to concerts in the past. So let's say those are really what I like as well: the fillers, the music, and the books. And then obviously, time permitting, both my wife and I like to travel. We did some adventurous travels in the past to Patagonia, Mongolia. And we hope to do that as well when the girls are a bit older, to do some more adventurous travel.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah.
And how about yourself? Do you have time left besides everything that's going on?
Yeah, it's also a very tight schedule for me. To be honest, lots of my hobbies, they are included in the sports world. And I do read a little bit, but I'm not a big reader or something. I also like to listen to music, but I used to listen to music more. I've also played once electric bass guitar in a rock band, but this is like 15 years ago, and it was also a good time, and it was a little bit more a different life, let's say, not so healthy as now, but that's how life's changing.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, Jonas, to conclude this more personal chapter, we must each draw a question. So let me see. Define yourself in 3 adjectives. I would say competitive. Both in work and in sports, I'm very competitive. The other ones...
Difficult. I'm thinking about for myself as well.
I'm very used to describing yourself from a work environment. So this is work and sports. So I would still say analytical, because in my work, I'm very analytical. And that's also our approach, let's say, problems, but also for sports and for trail running. I try to decipher the puzzle, and I like data. I like to try and see how does fueling work, how does spacing work. So analytical is definitely one. And the third one is resilience, how to deal with problems and basically how to deal with them well. Again, in personal life, in work, in sports, not everything goes as planned, but it's really like how you cope with that. That's a mental mindset. I think that's definitely important, and that would be a part of my 3 adjectives.
Well, I would say you were made for trail running. So I pick another question for me. I hope it's an easier one, to be honest. Oh, how do you see yourself in 10 years' time? I hope to be as fit as you are. I think we have more or less 10 years in between. Yeah, happy, healthy, and good health for my whole family. And I'm looking to run many more years. Maybe the intention of being at the top is maybe not as much, but as longer the distance, as more competitive you can be. And for example, Ludovic Pomeray, he shows every year how fast he can be. And I think he's also like 49 or something. So he's 10 years older than I am. So I'm looking forward to it. It would be nice to be as good as Ludovic.
Good. And also, Jonas, now that we know each other a little better through this interview, it's time to play a little game here. 3 statements I have for you about me. Only one of them is true. So, and you're going to have to guess which. The first statement: during a trip to Austin, Texas, where I studied, I won an amateur rodeo contest and 5 kilos of bison meat. Second statement: my wife, as we mentioned, is French, and we actually met in a chairlift in Le Grand Brenon after being stuck for 10 minutes due to a technical problem. Magic happened straight away, even though we had our masks and scarves on. And the third one: I'm a huge Bruce Springsteen fan, and I had the opportunity to see him in concert right before the birth of my first child, and it was an unforgettable memory.
So that's difficult. I don't think the first one is true. I don't know about the second and the third one. I go for Bruce Springsteen.
You won the prize.
Yeah, cool. Whoa, what a great story. Can you tell more about that?
I like rock music. I like the 80s, but really Bruce Springsteen, I'm a big fan. So I went to this concert. I had to go alone because my wife was heavily pregnant.
Yeah.
So I went to the concert, got home at midnight, very tired, went to bed. And half an hour later, she gave me an elbow and said, "Oh, it's happening." So, so then we had to rush to the hospital, and that's always in my mind. Like right before the birth, went to the concert, and then our girl was born.
How cool is that? Yeah, Bruce Springsteen, big number. I also like his music. So I have the same game for you, and I hope I can trick you a little bit. So, I ran Madeira Ultra-Trail in 2022. I was in the leading group with my Swiss companion, Jean-Philippe Choumi. And at kilometer 85, he had to stop because of cramps. And because we were running the whole time together, I had a hard time to leave him there. And I was convinced that I can help him with some massage. So I did. We didn't lost a lot of time, but 8 kilometers afterwards, he felt very, very strong, and he dropped me, and he finished third at the end, and I finished 18th. So next time, I will not give him the chance to recover, or I will not help him out. So this is my first. Then after ending my ski career with 21, half a year later, former coach called me on the phone, and he asked me if I have time to come and open the World Cups at Lauberhornrennen in ski downhill. So it's the longest downhill in the World Cup. And I went there, and I had a great time with skiing during the day and some good party in the evening. And the third one is I've played in a rock band. It's 15 years ago. I played bass guitar, and once we won a competition, the winner of the competition was allowed to open the stage for Motorhead. So we were allowed to play Motorhead in the Hallenstadion in Zurich. And it was just an amazing experience because to play in front of such a big crowd just gives you goosebumps.
That's difficult. Let's say they could all be credible. I'm thinking between 1 and 3. Not sure how much of a massage you would have given if it's true, but maybe helping out your friend Jean-Philippe Schumi is the true one.
No, it's not correct. To be honest, I've helped not Jean-Philippe Schumi, but I've helped once Franco Colle with some medical assistance during the race as well. So no, it's not one. So the second again was the one with the skiing, and the third one was with the rock band. So what do you think?
Maybe I would intend to say the third one, but maybe I go still for the second one. The third one sounds so big. I'll go for the skiing one.
Well, that's true, yes. I was called by one of my former coaches. And before a World Cup race, you need, we call them forerunners to opening the race in front of number one. And I've done that. And that was pretty hard week because I was up 24 hours. Probably I'm good because of that in Tour de Géants. Yeah.
Good. So Jonas, you won the quiz today because I had to have 2 attempts, but you got me straight away. But hey, we've come to questions from the UTMB World Series community that we received on social media. So I have a couple of questions for you. And the first one is from Evan. Does your trail running practice benefit your practice as a medical masseur and vice versa?
Yes, it actually does. I always have this connection, and I also try to feel how my patient could feel, and that helps a lot. And I do have a lot of people who are very active in sports, and probably it's also a reason why they taking massage at my place.
I always hear that doctors and therapists that are athletes themselves take better care of their patients than themselves.
Yeah, that could be actually.
So another question here from Laia. Do years of experience and mental strength allow you to transcend your physical capabilities?
This is also true. I don't do really like mental training, but I think with my past with skiing and also the experience in different races, like very long and shorter ones, it helps you a lot. And just I think with the experience it helps you a lot for trail running, and then also you can do the transition also to normal life, so I don't get nervous so fast, and I'm also resilient, I think.
Good, perfect. And one last question here from Petter. What is your most unexpected memory from a race?
That's a difficult one. My most unexpected one, I think in 2022 during Tour de Géants, during the last night, I faced 2 dogs. They were not at their leash, and they are there to protect the sheep, the big white ones. and they were super, super aggressive, and I had to go back and do a very long circle around them, and I heard them barking the whole time behind me then, and it pushed my adrenaline level quite high, and it was, to be honest, a very dangerous situation, but at the end, luckily, nothing happened. Yeah, that was quite unforeseeable. Yeah.
A good adrenaline rush.
Yeah, definitely. And good at that time because it was the last night. Yeah.
Jonas, we've come to the end of this discussion, but still, can you give us a little bit of insight, and can you tell us which races you plan to enter returning to competition this year, and also what would success look like to you in these competitions?
My first competition comes up in a few weeks. It's Géants Trail in Italy by UTMB, 103 kilometers. There, my ambition is just to get back in the race rhythm. I don't know how it turns out. It's also a pretty fast race, I assume. I've never been there before. After my long injury break, I hope to get a good race and a good start into the season. Then I'm looking for Alsace Trail by UTMB. I don't know about the distance yet, but I choose between 100 and 170 kilometers. So same there, never been there. I think it's a little bit more technical, but I look for a good surprise there. And then I'm trying to return to Lavaredo Ultra-Trail by UTMB in Cortina. Like the races in Italy, the crowd is always going very crazy, and I do think by now I have a lot of sympathies there. And what I've heard, there's a good field of very good runners there, so it will be an exciting moment, I think. And then, the number A race, clearly UTMB. Nothing to describe there, I think. Yeah. How about you? Do you have any plans there?
I'm ramping up towards Wildstrubel 100 plus in September, and I'll start next month in Istria by UTMB, the 70K, also to collect a running stone. Then from Istria, I go to the Maxi race in Annecy, it's a 93K. And then in between Annecy and Wildstrubel, I'm going to run in Megève in France, the nature trail. On Saturday, it's a 40 kilometer or a 45 kilometer, but they also have this dual race where you can also opt to run the 30K the next day. Yeah. So I'm considering to do that weekend as a training, to sort of do a dual race in the weekend. And given I'm going to visit with my wife the Olympics the week after, so that's going to be a week of recovery. So that's a little bit my plan for the year.
Cool. Sounds great.
So, I'm very much looking forward to see you run all your races, but I'll definitely pay attention how things are going at UTMB in Chamonix.
Yeah, it's always exciting to race there, and I think after last year, I have something to do better there, and I hope I can perform well, and let's see how it turns out. So looking forward for that.
It was really great meeting you, and I'll be paying extra attention to how you're doing these races over the next coming months, and maybe I'll swing by for a good massage as well, or on a bike ride. Your practice is not too far from Zurich, so
yeah, same here. Thanks a lot for this conversation. It was really nice, and I wish you all the best for the season and for your future life.
Cheers. See you on the trails.
See you on the trails.
And that's it for today. We hope you had a great time and that you're feeling inspired to go out for a run. If so, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and share this episode with your friends, colleagues, or trail partners. Subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. We'll see you next month for another encounter.
So, really nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
I'm sure I'm going to run into you somewhere.
Yeah, maybe we see us up here in the trails in Zugerberg or in around Zurich, or somewhere else
Yeah.
in a race.
If you need somebody for a training run one day, you'll just give me a call.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah, thanks, Roy.
Stay fit, kick ass, and do a great performance at your coming races.
Same for you. Thanks.
See you soon.
Bye, Roy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.